my theme music.
What's up, Buff Nation, and welcome into Buff's News Weekly Live. I'm your host, Russ Dornish, and again, thank you guys so much for tuning in on this Tuesday afternoon. Of course, for those of you that don't know or may just be tuning in for the first time, we cover the Colorado Buffalo football team and all news surrounding the team. Our Tuesday live streams, which are normally 4:30, we're doing a little bit earlier today, but our normal Tuesday live streams, we go over the last week of news and kind of do a more reaction type show rather than my produced Saturday news videos that you guys see, which come out at 5 o'clock p.m. Mountain Time on Saturdays. So welcome in. Hey, Days to Come, thank you for dropping in. How's it hanging? How is your week going? Let me know. And yeah, let's have a fun stream here for about 30 minutes or so. Going to be covering a few things. To be quite honest, the news is slow coming because we are in the middle of summer and really all that's happening around the team is workouts. Not too much on the field. We did get a little bit of one-on-ones without the pads. But other than that, not too much going on. So we won't be covering too much of that. But I do want to cover a couple of things. The first off, obviously, the name of today's stream, which is the class of 2025. Now, Colorado obviously had a very small 2024 class and so far has a fairly small 2025 class. However, I think that will be changing here fairly soon as we have probably one of the biggest weekends in recruiting history for Colorado coming up. And I think that we only know a few of the people that will be showing up for that weekend, which we will go over. We will talk about those players. We're also going to go through the list of 2025 offers, take a look at some of the players that have not committed to teams yet and see whether or not they have looked at or have put Colorado in their top teams. And then also look at, thanks to 24/7, they do have a kind of obviously they have the crystal balls, but we're going to look at the temperature gauge for some players that I don't think people are really looking at because there are some players on that list that are listed at warm. So let's figure out and check and see who could possibly be the targets for Colorado. And then also at the very end here, we're going to talk about why I believe that the 2025 class is going to be a last minute thing. We're probably going to have very low numbers until the very end of the year, and I will tell you why. Days to Come, Will Gorman, I will throw him up there. We'll take a look at him and his information. If anybody watching right now has any other names or players they want us looking at, feel free to drop it in the chat and we will take a look. First things first, here's what I want to do. I want to look at the, wrong one. Here we go. I want to look at our visits for the 2025 class, official visits that we have going on right now. As of last week, we did have 2 visits that were pretty big that were shown on here as official visits. Christian Thatcher, Shedrick Surratt, both 4-star 90 grades coming in on 24/7. And of course, Shedrick Surratt Jr., offensive tackle, offensive lineman, 6'4", 300 pounds as a going into his senior year of high school, quite a specimen size-wise. He is the 27th ranked offensive tackle and the 4th ranked in his state. And then Christian Thatcher is an interesting one. I'm very interested to see if this one does come through. Something about it just tells me that I don't think he'll end up coming to us, but would love to have him, another linebacker. We could really rebuild that linebacker room Days to come, I think offensive tackle not coming, my personal opinion. Totally get that. I do. We are pretty deep when it comes to offensive line. Obviously, Seaton is there, but it just depends. It depends on who they recruit. I think with Surratt and honestly anybody else, we're gonna be looking for at least one more tackle. Probably not the top tackle in the class because they will expect to play. We do get one more year of Khalil Benson, I believe. So I think we're set for one more year on the offensive line. I'll have to double check the eligibility chart. But yeah, I think that could be a potential that we look at some guys that maybe are a year away from playing, maybe potentially redshirt options, because in 2 years, we're going to have some spots open on the offensive line. And we, of course, can continue to add that depth. I think linebacker has higher, might slide in with us. Yes, I think, well, to be able to match up, because don't forget, we do have Mantrez Walker, who is on this list, coming the same weekend as the June 21st big visit, as well as Corbin Leisure. But Mantrez already going to be a pretty good linebacker. I've heard so many different things about him that he would be a 5-star if it weren't for his size. So if he was a little bit bigger, a little bit more linebacker body, he would be a 5-star. I'm really excited to get him into our strength and conditioning program and see what the team can do with him. But hey, a pairing for 3 to 4 years of Mantrez Walker and Christian Thatcher, I would not complain about that. So as for the big one, the June 21st, these are the only names we know so far that have been publicized, that have been released, and that is for 24/7, showing that we'll work bottom to top because we'll work our way to the big gun here for the June 21st visit. So we have Corbin Leisure, of course, the other commit that happened same weekend, visiting with Mantrez Walker. They both committed. They're both going on to their official visits. And I'm assuming that the hope is that they can work some magic with Julian Lewis. Of course, our other hard commit who was not officially visiting, but he might be visiting unofficially. I don't know. I've seen some things that he's said, so he could be trying to help out with recruiting and making sure that Julian Lewis drops in. But that's Alex Graham, our top recruit for the 2025 class, the cornerback safety combo out of IMG, 3-star 89 rated by 24/7, very close to that 4-star rating. By the end of the season, he very well could be a 4-star. Now the other ones, and these are going to be some interesting ones. Evan Hayes, I have not seen too much on him. To read up on him a little bit for you guys, we have got wide receiver, 3-star out of Georgia. What do we know? We have a lot of Georgia boys coming that weekend. And he is listed as warm, 3-star, 6'3", 185 pounds, 24/7 composite, 8'6", 8'9", the 127th ranked wide receiver and the 86th Georgia ranked receiver as well. No scouting notes on him, but again, Roswell, Georgia, we are continuing that look at some Georgia boys. And what that's going to look like. On top of that, of course, we've got Mantrez Walker. We just talked about him. This was an interesting one. Quanell Farrakhan Jr. Wow. Okay, with the names. He's going to be a much bigger one. And I think this one was being brought in as kind of a joint recruiting effort with Julian Lewis. So 4-star 90 rated by 24/7, 6 foot, 170 pounds. We've got the 4-star 90 rated guy from Texas. He has on his list, by the way, Alabama, Arizona State, Colorado, Nebraska, Texas A&M. Being warm, interested in all those, my assumption being that he is going to be going on all official visits. And it looks like he is crystal bald by two different analysts to Alabama, and then the Penn State analyst is also throwing a small prediction in for him to go to Penn State. My guess is it's Alabama that we have to beat. We shall see. What's interesting is Alabama has 15 wide receivers on the roster going forward and one commit so far, whereas Colorado has 10 wide receivers and 0 commits. He does not have any official visits scheduled except for Colorado currently per 24/7. So again, going off of what they said. Then the other big one that I think is going to be a combo type thing, that is Chauncey Gooden. The only problem is, of course, that cool that you see over next to his name, meaning that he's not super high or they're not super high on him, potentially coming to Colorado. And he has one prediction by the Clemson 24/7 article for Clemson as the crystal ball prediction, although he's not even listed on the college list up at the top. So who knows? But Chauncey Gooden, inside offensive lineman guard from Nashville, Tennessee, 4-star 91 score, 24/7 recruit. And I know Colorado is heavy on him to try and bring him in. And then let's see, days to come. Will we get the in-state tight end? Here's the thing when it comes to in-staters, okay? If Coach Prime really pushes for an in-stater, I mean really pushes. Now, here's what you guys got to realize, okay? And this coming from a Colorado person. Over the years, Colorado has not recruited Colorado. And it is somewhat really for the lack of trying. They just have not chosen to recruit Colorado very heavily. I think part of that is because of how far behind Colorado as a state is in football. We do put out decent linemen, but the problem is that they have to develop. They take time. Colorado guys are not coming in and playing in the first 2 years. And if I'm being honest, especially with what Coach Prime is trying to do, you are going to want some more immediate impact guys the last 2 years. Now going forward, I think we could see a shift where Coach Prime looks even harder at the state of Colorado and tries to get that low-hanging fruit, so to speak, because I do believe that the tight end from Colorado, if Coach Prime really pushes for him, I think we have a good chance of getting him, simply because, again, that is one in our backyard. 2, he's a 3-star, I believe. Let me double check and pull him up. I'm going to find him real quick, because I can't even remember his name right now. We've only offered 17 tight ends for the 2025 class. And let's see where we at, because I know we just offered him. I hope 24/7 has him. They do not have him listed. Nope. They do not have him listed as our offered tight ends, but I know we did offer him. So let's go ahead and I'm going to look for that up. If you guys know his name, just to make this a little bit easier, let me know, because I would love to take a look at that and bring him up. So yeah, let's Colorado offered. Let's see if we can find it real quick. Again, if you guys know, let me know. Otherwise, I will move on. Oh, we did offer safety Brandon Miller out of Littleton, Colorado for a preferred walk-on. Okay, interesting. Or wait, was that a... Okay, it is Colorado. I am not seeing their name pop up. We'll go look at it here in a little bit and see if that, we can find it later on. And then, of course, the big one, everybody. It's Julian Lewis. Julian Lewis is going to be our number one target, although he did visit USC this weekend. You probably saw the hype video for his visit and interest to USC. On top of that, it sounds like the visit went wonderful. If I'm being honest at this point, I think it's between Colorado and USC. I think Indiana's slowly moving on. I think Auburn's looking to move on as far as who they find. I think it's coming down to this weekend for the most part. If it's close, if it's neck and neck, he loves his time here in Boulder. I think what's going to happen next is he's going to wait. He's going to see what happens over the season, because both teams are kind of on different trajectories. USC is USC. They have the legacy. They have Lincoln Riley, although it has not worked out like they would have wanted. Any USC fan can admit that It is just not where it is supposed to be. They had Caleb Williams for 2 years. You should have been in the national championship conversation. Last year, I would say, is a complete underperformance. I am going to give Lincoln Riley and USC credit and say that, yeah, that is not a good season for them. While I will say a 4-8 after a 1-11 season is a good season for Coach Prime in his second year. Lincoln Riley brought some insane talent, especially when it comes to Caleb Williams and that receiving core that they had. So I do think they underperformed. I wonder if that happens again. It's not going to be easy this year. He is not going to have Caleb Williams, obviously, on the team. So I just wonder what that's going to look like. What could that have an effect on the team and Julian Lewis's decision, as well as the fact that I do believe we are going to be better than we were last year. What the record becomes as a result of that, who knows? But I think that if Julian Lewis can see the direction that we're going, and especially if we perform outstanding, if we go above and beyond and we just completely shatter all expectation, then I think absolutely that could put us in the driver's seat. But I think it's going to come down to decision day, national signing day right at the end of the season. But we might get some little hints and tidbits, and I have a feeling Julian Lewis will be at a couple CU games this season. So that is what our 2025 visits look like. I again want to pull up and push a little bit more information as far as who's been offered, who's listed as warm, so potentially considering Colorado at this point. Thank you, days to come. Zane DeSeuss, let's pull his stuff up, and I will share my screen here. We can go through that information. Give me 2 seconds here. A little switch. Okay. Zane DeSeuss. We're not finding it. Let's there he is. Zane DeSouza. There he is. Okay, so offers right now: Colorado, Northern Colorado, Washington State, Wyoming. I mean, if I'm being honest, if Coach Prime says here's a scholarship, I have a feeling he's coming. But then again, he could have a spectacular senior year, and he could make a complete different change for that. Of course, Zane from Loveland, Colorado, just outside of Boulder, not too far away. I don't see a Colorado State offer yet, so looks like his in the backyard is going to be between us and Northern Colorado. Of course, Northern Colorado is not a Power 5 football team; they are an FCS team, so that's going to be a big difference. And 3-star 82, love the height, man. 6'6". 260 going into his senior year. I think that would be a huge get. I think you're right, days to come. That could be a big target for us since we do need tight ends, multiple tight ends. So the fact that we already have Leisure does not stop us from going after this one. So yep, offered from him, Northern Colorado, Washington State, nothing from Wyoming yet. And yeah, I think that's a good one. I think that's going to be an under the radar type of move. Let's move on to the rest of the list here. I've got some things I want to point out. Quarterback is going to be the big one, obviously. We are going to be looking for a quarterback no matter what. Now, the question is whether or not the quarterback that we go for is going to be Shador's replacement or the heir apparent down the road. Okay, so here's a couple of scenarios. We get Julian Lewis. He's our starting quarterback next year. We're moving forward with him for 3 to 4 years. We do not get Julian Lewis. We look at some of the other recruits, but guess what? Most of the top recruits, as you can see here, are committed. I do not see us in the running really for any of these. Antoine Hill, of course, was committed. I thought he'd be the future of this team, decided to decommit after just 1 week. He is out. I'm sorry. Don't get your hopes up that he's coming back. Coach Prime is not the type of guy to let somebody commit, decommit, and then want to come back. You're either in or you're out, okay? And same thing goes for Winston Watkins, who is on this list. He is out. I already know he's out. He has not been, his trajectory has really been going down the tubes since he committed to Colorado. Things just aren't the same with him. He decommitted, and it really hasn't seemed like he has gotten much interest outside of Colorado, and his stock has just been plummeting, it seems. I don't know if it's because what's been happening, the number of schools he's been going to, the number of commitments he's made as far as colleges go. So that is going to be one that is going to be watched as well. But if I'm going through this quarterback list, the only one that makes kind of sense is going to be right here, and that's Jaron Sagapolutale. That I did it best I could. I know that Pat Shurmur went and visited him in Hawaii. The quarterback was very excited, very happy to have that visit. I could see him be a project type quarterback similar to Staub right now on the roster. Guys that are going to take a few years to develop. He could be a good option there at the 3-star 89 rating. So that could be an option. I think that's who we would look to if Juju Lewis did not work out, unless we had a target to flip that we could potentially look at. But I honestly don't think that's going to happen. Then running back, we don't have very much in the way of serious running back talk at this moment. I did not see really any warm thoughts on there. So I just think that's where we're at. As far as the tight end goes, again, I did not see who we just talked about, DeSeuss, on this list for offers. But of course, we've got Corbin Leisure already. Offensive tackle, that's going to be an interesting one. I think we're really going hard after the offensive line. As far as potentials, let's see who we've got warm. Yep, just Cedric Surratt from last week. And that looks like it as far as warm. As far as names that we've been tied to, where are we? I don't think tackle is a huge target. If you notice how many we've actually offered, we've only offered 21 versus 23 just in the generic offensive line with guard and center. And there's a couple we want to look at here that we are warm with. And the big one is, of course, Javon McFadden. Okay, so if you don't know who Javon McFadden is related to Jordan Seaton. Okay, so I feel like that puts us in the lead for him. He could be a great get. 3-star 87. I think he could be the guard of the future for this team. Listed at 6'5", 300 pounds already as a junior. Loving that. I feel like he can put on some bulk and size. We're going to talk about size here in just a little bit. So be aware of that, because something got posted today that I am a little bit surprised about. Days to come real quick. The Hawaii quarterback would be great. I think he would be. I think he's a good secondary option if Juju does not work out. As far as other options here that we are warm with, I think McFadden is really the only one I see as a for sure. We'll see what else we get. Then we got a couple others here. Javion Hilson, he was listed as warm to us. He's a Florida State commit now. And then as far as other ones go, that's really it. We're not looking at very many edge players. I feel like edge is a place that we might look more towards the portal at this point. We did get Brandon David Swain, but obviously we had the Eric Bentley miss on that one. He's already gone without really going. He's not going to a Power 5, Division I conference school. So that was an interesting one. Let's see defensive line interior. We do not have much in the way of any type of warmth. Let me go through these names real quick. Elijah Griffin, obviously the number one defensive lineman in the class. He could be a potential, but he is being highly sought after. The other one that we saw this week, too, I thought was Trajan Odom. I saw something with that. Harquez Carter, he has been over to Boulder a couple times. So those are a couple names to look after when it comes to that. Linebacker, of course, we talked about that. Mantrez and potentially Thatcher. Other ones that we could be looking at, I think that's really it. We have Mantrez, we have Thatcher. Cornerback, this one's going to be an interesting one. I feel like there might be some options, but people are committing left and right when it comes to that, and we're not really too much in the talk. Of course, Dwayne Galloway is the big one that we're going after. We've got Alex Graham already, so I feel like we're getting there. But honestly, I don't know how big this class is going to be. Fahim Delane, that was one we were highly after when it came to the safety. He just committed to Ohio State this week. As far as other ones go, there's really no other names that jump out. Trey Fuller is warm to us as a 3-star. That's not terrible. And that looks like it. Now, here's the big one. Let's look at the athletes, because if we know anything, that is Coach Prime knows how to go after the athletes. Trying to see if, of course, LaMason Waller was a lock to come to Colorado until some coaching changes. And since then, he has been completely radio silent. The Buffs have not done anything. He has not done anything. So I don't think that is going to happen anymore. As far as other ones go that are kind of interesting, I don't think we have anybody really besides obviously Zane D'Souza. That's where he's at. He wasn't listed under tight end. He's listed as an athlete, but yes, a tight end. And that's it, guys. So 2025 class looking a little slim. We're looking a little behind the ball. Days to come, great point. It's going to be hard for C to get a great class. They have to find players that have the potential to be great. I think we're starting to see Coach Prime do that because, of course, our 2024 class was small, and he seems to have gone after some kids that have either been overlooked or maybe fell down some people's boards, recruiting boards, whatever it may be. Things like Malachi, Ben Boozy, Angel Hernandez, like those are all guys that I think were kind of under the radar. A while ago, we're pretty, not ranked high, but, we're ranked and decent. And I think those are players that Coach Prime could bring in and really do something. And then, of course, we're still going to see the transfer portal. I know that things are going to be a little bit different going forward with some of the rule changes, but I still think the transfer portal is going to be a big aspect to that. Agreed. You can't look at the ranking. It could be flawed. Absolutely. This is just, to kind of give us an idea. I'm not one to do a deep dive of like watching tape. That's not for me. I am just a fan like every one of you, just loves talking football. And so, that's not something I'm focused on. But it's fun to talk about. Let's look at what we have here. We're going off of what some analysts say. But again, I trust Coach Prime to make the right decisions and find the players that are best going to suit us. So moving on to some interesting news before we get to some kind of last minute stuff. Something that happened this week, guys, this past week. For those of you that don't know, the Coach JB show. If those of you who know Coach JB and his podcast, you know that he was originally on Last Chance U, was quite a polarizing figure, was eventually fired from his position for some legal issues. Very well respected by a lot of his players, very well respected by a lot of people in college and professional football. So yes, we're going to talk about what happened last week with Coach JB, which I technically was a part of, which was Coach JB addressed a group of us on Twitter, but mainly one of my close friends on Twitter, Dalvin the Truth, and something that they went back and forth on. But the big thing was, and the big thing that I agree 100% is that Coach JB, if you go on his YouTube channel, the amount of content associated with Colorado is absolutely insane. When he talks about Colorado, he is pretty much 100% of the time negative. He finds a way to twist everything that Colorado does into a negative aspect. Now, again, he has defended himself on his podcast in the couple of episodes they put out this last week about, why he did this, why he did that, how he's not just a hater and that's just us being annoying and not having anything better to say. But it's the truth because we talked about this. The stories that are positive about Colorado, he finds some way to spin it or not make it such a big deal. Colorado just had one of the best semesters ever in the history of the football program as far as grades go. Coach JB covered it, said, hey, well, I did that at my school. It's not a big deal. Again, downplaying it, being and hating on Colorado with that. It's always those type of things that keep happening. Well, this past week, again, he went and straight called out Dalvin on Twitter, brought up and did an entire segment, guys. Okay, he kept showing all of Dalvin's tweets, videos, posts, edited photos, all of that were going after JB and devoted time to it. Now, partway through his diatribe and going after this, he said that, I block people on Twitter and social media, so I don't even see this guy because I block people because you guys are all not worth it. You're nobodies. There's no reason for me to even care about you, so I'll just block you. That's why I block people, because you are not worth anything. Well, here is the funny part about that. He dedicated an entire segment to Dalvin the Truth, a person who he has blocked on Twitter. So I dropped in the chat. He does not do this, by the way, very often. JB does not show comments on the screen very often. JB just, they talk. He'll sometime address things in the chat, but for the most part, he does not put up chats. Well, he decided to put my chat up on the screen. Here it is. JB just dedicated a segment to Dalvin, but blocked him on Twitter. So I was saying, he can't respond to you. How is he a nobody? And you just did an entire segment on him. So somebody that's a nobody that's super easy to block, he spent 15 minutes of his show premiering and showing all of his tweets, getting him a ton of followers and exposure to JB's audience. It's just hilarious to me that then he says, oh, he's worthless, I'll just block him. So that's what we get. Well, I said that, and what happens, and again, I can't show the clips, by the way, because I guarantee their show will copyright me and copyright strike me for showing any clips. So I can show this photo with my comment in it. I have another comment that I put in. There's Gucci. We're having fun with this one. You missed out on that when it happened live, by the way. Yeah. So I throw this comment into the chat, and what do both of them start going off? They think and call me Dalvin's burner account. They think that I am Dalvin in disguise, coming in and commenting. They're like, Buffs News Weekly. Oh, that's definitely one of his burners. That was their comment for anybody defending Dalvin in the comments. And then to get an even better part of this is JB allows people to call into his show on this episode. If you go to the middle of the episode, by the way, the episode is titled, let me go look for it so you guys can go. If you want to, again, I would not recommend you go watch it because we don't want to support this junk. But yeah, that is kind of hilarious. So yeah, it's something to do with the prime sexuals, which is what he calls any fan of Colorado that defends the team, in all honesty. The things that we defend on are not, okay. The other thing they talked about, and I'm sorry that I'm going all over the place, it is the fact that Colorado fans have these crazy fans that will challenge people to fights online and do all this. Can I ask everybody a question? All of you in the chat, all of you, if you watch this later on comment-wise, do every fan base in the entire world for any sport have some crazy fans attached to it? Absolutely. Do you know why our fans get brought up more often than not? It is because of the exposure that we have right now with our team. So of course, if some crazy fans get in there and they just start yelling and screaming and doing things and challenge people to fights, it's going to make bigger news because we are in the middle of the news cycles, the exposure. The national media is, for instance, our space with all of us in regards to Cormani McLean that we did a while back. It went viral and hit national news. That is how big of a deal is. Just our little fan group that we sit around and chat college football and Colorado football gets put on national news for the things that are said. So again, that is why all this happens. We get those crazy fans who get much more exposure than any other team's crazy fans. The group that we're a part of, that we talk about, the spaces that we go on, that I've participated in, that Dalvin, runs, Gucci, who's in the chat, runs, appreciate you. That's not what we're doing. We're not being home run fans. We are having honest discussions, enjoying our time, enjoying being fans of a team where we can just sit around and chat about it. What's the big deal? So Coach JB allows some people to call in. He keeps calling out Dalvin, who's, by the way, completely, I can't even remember what he said happened, but he was not online at the time. People were DMing him, saying for him to go check the show out. All of that. He wasn't around the morning that this show happened. So JB kept calling him out as if Dalvin just sits around watching the show 24/7 to just say, okay, I literally put in the chat, hey, if you really want him to Antonio, I totally get that. Absolutely. But I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying that I was a part of this because I was so shocked. I had the biggest laugh when he called me Dalvin's burner account because again, you could easily just find out that, oh, I have a YouTube channel and that's what's going on. This is more fun stuff than anything, Antonio. More fun stuff. That's the thing. Remember, this stream is more off the cuff, kind of just, almost like sports radio. Let's just chat. Not really that scripted, anything like that. And then Saturdays, of course, is our scripted video where I take my time and really dive in deep, give you guys a high produced episode. That's kind of what that is. This is for, getting to talk with you guys, getting to interact, go back and forth, all that. So yeah, that's right. So I'm going to have to do that at some point. I'm going to have to log in and be like, welcome to Buffs News Weekly Live. I am your host, Dalvin, the Truth's burner account. Thank you guys for watching. But yeah, he lets people call in. One of the guys from our group calls in, just goes off on JB. They actually liked him because he did that. But again, they were constantly calling out Dalvin. So I put another comment in the chat and here we go. I literally told them, I was like, because they're just like, Dalvin, call into the show. We need to talk to you. And I was like, Dalvin's literally not here right now. And so again, they're like, well, he's definitely the burner, or he's tied to him somehow. Eventually, JB did come on our space that day, by the way. He came on the space and just starts screaming at everybody in the space, doesn't let anybody talk, and then jumps off. He records it, puts it up on YouTube and all social medias, and says that he owned Colorado fans through his conversation, except he never let anybody talk. He just yelled and screamed. Like the dude is unhinged with how he does it. Now, I will say this, and I will give props to Smitty, who is his co-host that you saw there in the screenshots. Smitty came on to our space, and he talked a good while with us on the space, let us know his opinion. We let him know where we were coming from. I think he got it. He went and explained it to JB, although I think he still kind of pushed the narrative that we just don't like JB because he's a hater. That is what Dalvin said, but he gave good reasoning for why. He gave exact segments that JB talked about that should have been positive, but again, was used as clickbait within his live show. Then, so that all happens. We get Smitty on there, and then we get their other co-host, who I can't even remember his name, but man, was that epic because he was just a ball of talking crap. And it was funny because there would be times where he would talk crap about Colorado and how terrible we are or this, that. And we're like, yeah, we know. That's where we were. That's not the point. This isn't about that. This is about something completely different. He just didn't get it. And then the absolute funniest point, and I called him out on the space for it. I called him out because he's like, you know what? Colorado fans are just crazy because you're irrelevant. Your team is irrelevant. And my argument for that is wins and losses do not make you relevant as much as, obviously it does. But my point is Colorado is relevant, not just because of our wins and losses, because we did go 4-8 last year, but because we are literally talked about in every piece of news media on a weekly basis. JB has a daily segment on us. We're covered by ESPN, Fox, every YouTube channel that is at all tied to college football will bring up Colorado in some shape or form just to get those magical clicks. I love what happened this past weekend as well. If you guys see that, and even DNVR, it's between DNVR, but DNVR's Arizona team had a podcast not doing so hot. So there was a 5-minute segment on Colorado and Coach Prime and all that. So what did they do? They created an entire post highlighting that small segment just to get some increased views, clicks, everything on it. It's just hilarious what is happening right now. And I know I've gotten some people that have called me out, through these YouTubes saying, oh, look, another content creator just, trying to piggyback on Colorado and make money off of them. Here's the thing, guys. I was a Colorado fan before Prime. I was a Colorado fan before we blew up. I know they absolutely are. Of course they are. I mean, I get it. This whole YouTube thing, this whole social media thing is about eyes. I keep saying it. we are going to succeed as a program financially because of those eyes. Like, it's going to happen and teams are going to hate it. But when it comes to this YouTube stuff, like, I started this channel not to just say, hey, I'm going to make some money off of Colorado. One, I liked Colorado. Two, I love what Coach Prime is doing. And three, in all honesty, Coach Prime, his media team, Deion Sanders Jr., Darius Sanders, Uncle Neely, all of those guys have pushed me, and they have gotten me to the point where they have really made me think about this and said, you know what? I really want to finally do something. For those of you that don't know a little bit about me, I went to school for broadcasting. I wanted to be in sports radio. I worked at the local sports radio station in Denver for my junior year, trying to get a job there, was unable to because, again, I graduated around the time of the recession / radio was going down the tubes. And YouTube was still a kind of early thing. There wasn't anything like this. So once I saw that, I saw the other content creators, big shout outs to the other CU content creators that I absolutely love. Chico, David Talks Buff, who I collaborate with. Some of the other channels, like, they inspired me along with what Colorado is doing to do this. So I am doing this because I love Colorado football, I love sports, and I love sports talk and being able to do this behind a camera. And so I decided, hey, what the heck? Let me do it and see what happens. And the response I've gotten from you guys has been absolutely amazing. We're almost 1,300 fans, subscribers. You guys got me partnered on YouTube already. It's just been amazing and fun as far as the ride goes. It is hilarious, though, seeing all these people just feeding off the hate because I can't remember what the saying is, but it's something like, hate about things get more views than, good things about certain items. So, me talking well about the Buffs may not get as many hits as if I were to talk negatively about the Buffs or specific things, which I try and stay away from. So, that's where it is. That's what's happening with that. It was a fun thing. I wanted to address it and kind of talk about what happened on that show, what happened last week with what was going on. It's still happening on a daily basis. But we called him out because, I think he's just using hate. Now, cover Colorado and the good stuff. Cover all of the good stories we have. Cover Camden and his story that he's doing right now, being the governor for Colorado football, where he is now doing like these media addresses. I think that's an awesome use of his skills and ability. That's just an awesome thing. This is a fun one, too. I've heard this from other people. Honestly, CU made me a fan of recruiting. I'm a recruiting fanatic from high school to the portal. The best part about college sports is the recruiting aspect, if I'm being honest. That and the pageantry of what a game day looks like. That's something completely entirely different. But in NFL, it's about, okay, who is going to pay you the most? That is about where players go. You get drafted, that starts the decision, and then free agency comes, and you just go to the highest bidding team. College is technically moving towards the highest bidding team sometimes, but for the most part, it is a completely different thing. It is truly playing to the senses of these kids and getting to make that decision. It's a fun, awesome, exciting thing. And I will tell you, one of the most fun I've ever had watching college sports and following it was the Jordan Seaton saga, seeing how that played out. Finding out there's no way we have a chance for this guy, to all of a sudden now we're in the running. We have a very high chance. Him saying he's going to commit, taking a little bit longer than he should have, or taking us off his top 10 list. Those are all things that were just so much fun to watch and keep track of. So that's the best part about college football, is it is a year-round sports news cycle. There is really there's not many times where there is like nothing going on at all. And so I just think that's a really awesome thing. Good point there, days to come. I think that is a smart way to look at it. Now, the last thing I want to bring up today, this is going to be a shorter live stream again because we didn't have much going on, but I wanted to get on. We're going to get on every Tuesday chat. By the way, couple of housekeeping updates that I want to tell you guys before we get out of here, before I show you the last little story, what we're going to look at. I am going to be starting to stream NCAA 25, the video game, when that releases. We are going to do a streaming Dynasty Colorado mode. What that means is you guys, the fans who end up watching the stream, are going to get to help me call the shots. Okay. You tell me who to recruit. You tell me who to start, who to move positions. Do we change conferences? All of that stuff. You guys are going to help me determine that as we go through. So make sure you guys are paying attention to that. Most likely it's going to be Thursday evenings that those streams are going to happen. Of course, you'll get to see them on demand if you miss any. But Thursday evenings, starting with a launch stream of NCAA 25 when it comes out in July. So be on the lookout for that. Even if you're not a gamer, this is a fun thing to be a part of, okay? I know not all CU fans are going to be gamers, but this is going to be something you're going to want to see. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to do it together. It is going to be our Colorado Dynasty, and we're going to have fun doing it in July. I can't wait for that game to come out. So super excited. Now let's chat the last little thing. This is something that got posted today. And tell me something right off the bat if you're in the chat. What do you notice about this picture? All I can say is, oh my goodness, Jordan Seaton has gone off the rails with how massive he's gotten just the last 6 to 7 months. Look at our offensive line compared to what it has been in the past, okay? Tyler Brown, freak. He has gone from somebody who we completely might have forgot about last year to stealing the starting spot, in all honesty, at the guard spot from Tyler Johnson, who came in and we thought was going to immediately be the starter. I have a feeling Tyler Brown is going to be the starter. You also have, of course, Justin Mayers, but look at Jordan Seaton. Props to the young kid. He has worked his butt off since he got to Colorado, and it is showing. I want to show you guys another tweet that got put out there, because if I'm being honest, this is the real drastic part of this. Give me 1 second to find it here. But oh man, guys, it is crazy. Yep, here it is. And it, of course, is our good friend Dalvin the Truth with the ultimate tweet, guys. Look at this. Okay. This is the evolution of Jordan Seaton. So see here, this is one of Jordan's earlier high school photos. Then look at his photos once he moved into, of course, now coming out of high school. Again, looking much better now that he went to IMG and they really just worked on his craft. And then to today's photo. My Lord. Now, I do agree, days come. I did see that Hank was not a part of that photo. We had Yakiri instead. But I do think Hank will start over him. I think Hank is the dude. But the difference that we have in our guys right now, if we want to talk about people being haters and not actually knowing what they're talking about, that is what it's about. They are not paying attention to what improvements have been made just in size alone. We all remember the comments, man, Colorado looked small last year. They look tiny, blah, blah, blah. We're not tiny anymore. So that's going to do it for us this week. Thank you guys so much for joining me on my show. Buffs News Weekly live every Tuesday, normally at 4:30 p.m. Mountain Time. So make sure you guys come back and check that out. And we will be back to our regular schedule this weekend as we cover the last 2 weeks worth of news in our next news video on Saturday at 5 p.m. You can catch it on the channel. Again, appreciate you guys so much. Appreciate you guys for coming into the chat, coming and watching our live stream. Last week, I had 200 people in the live stream. I still can't believe it. What I've been able to do, what I've been able to accomplish here, and all thanks to you guys, the subscribers, the watching hours that I've already had on videos, the views. I absolutely love it. So, if you're catching us out for the first time, make sure you hit that subscribe button, like button on this video before you check out. Always helps the channel. And until Saturday and next Tuesday, I'm Russ Dornish for Buffs News Weekly Live. You guys are awesome. See you next time. Go Buffs!